Some of them try to rhyme, but they can't rhyme like this. Some of them try to rhyme, but they can't rhyme like this. Some of them try to rhyme, but they can't rhyme like this. Some of them try to rhyme, but they can't.
SHORYUFLICKS.
What's up, guys? Thanks for watching another episode of SHORYUFLICKS. My name is Mersky. This is my boy, Will. As you can see, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently today. The format looks a little bit different because we're going to do kind of an around the horn type style of review. And we each saw one different movie, so you're going to get two movie reviews for this one. The first movie that we're going to review is the Steve Jobs bioflick, simply entitled Steve Jobs. So, Will, you actually got to see the Steve Jobs bioflick, Steve Jobs.
Yes, I did.
What were your first impressions when you walked out of the theater?
I absolutely loved it. It was, like I texted you right afterwards, as movies in its purest form should inspire you. This movie is inspiring.
Wow. So, going back to your kind of history with Apple, what actually was the point of inspiration during the movie?
To be honest with you, this movie, it wasn't one poignant point that made it to inspire me. It was actually just the whole film altogether, the way it was put together, and also the general themes behind it. Okay. The culmination of it at the end, when he makes his triumphant return back to Apple and is on stage during a keynote where he belonged. It was awesome.
Nice.
Pretty
Okay,
cool.
Let's break it down to our 5 different categories. So first up is watchability. So how watchable was this movie?
Well, I'll give you some background. I watched this movie at the Lincoln Square Theater in Manhattan. So
Classic, yeah.
It was a huge theater. It was big, 3 levels actually. I got there about 15 minutes early, and this place was packed.
Wow, that's the way to see a movie.
I had to squeeze in between 2 couples, so it was a little bit weird. But
little fifth wheel action, huh?
A little bit of fifth wheel action, the right in the middle. But also there was a really tall guy sitting right in front of me too. So the way this was laid out in terms of theater was old school style, very low to the ground. But to bring it all back, that the movie itself was so good that all those factors included, very packed theater, being in the middle of 2 couples and a really tall guy in front of me, I completely forgot about it once the movie started, and all the way till the end. But watchability, 5 out of 5.
Wow. Okay. So 5 out of 5. Is there anything special about the watchability that you want to kind of talk about without spoiling the movie?
Yes. It was something that I realized as I was watching the movie. The movie was segmented into 3 separate, I guess you can say, timetables or eras. And each one, they shot it in a different style or different kind of, not format, but it was just the quality of the film.
Wow.
Was gradually improved. The colors are better, a little more saturated as the movie went on, just to kind of reflect the time that they were in. So, you know, I think it first started in 1984. Oh my God, it's a fly. When it first started in 1984, you know, it was a little more dulled out. The footage a little more grainy, as all the way until about I guess 1998 or 2001. I forget which actual year. It got much better by the end of the movie, so it was very impressive.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So next category that we're going to go to is fun factor. Now, this is a bioflick. So how much fun did you have watching this bioflick, basically of about the most important tech person in the last 20 years?
Even more, maybe. The fun factor, I'm not going to give a perfect score just because this movie is meant to be fun. It's really meant to, it's definitely meant to entertain. It's meant to drive from a point. It's meant to, you know, it's not, your purpose isn't to sit there to laugh and just, you know, it's not really a date movie, let's just say. You can watch this with a bunch of friends and you all have a good time, but it's not one of those movies you're going to walk out and just, you know, gush over. It's not because it's not bad. It's not because it's not a good movie, but because it's so good that you walk out still thinking about it. So fun factor, you know, it's not a fun movie to watch. It's definitely, but it's an entertaining movie to watch, and is, I think, a movie that if you like the Social Network or the Facebook movie, as I like to call it, if you like that one, you will like this one, if probably more. I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 for fun factor. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, cool. So we're going to go tone for the next category. So again, this is a Steve Jobs bioflick. So what kind of tone were they trying to set for the movie about his life?
It was a very deliberate tone, meaning that they progressed through Steve Jobs' personal life and his professional career in those 3 phases like I discussed earlier. In the beginning, he's everywhere. His the way he talks, the way he thinks. He bounces from left to right, up and down, all over a place. It's almost hard to keep up with, just because the way Aaron Sorkin writes his films. The interactions between the actors are very quick, and they're very. There's no really lag in between each conversation, so the tone was kind of set where Steve Jobs is. It's shown that he thinks differently. I guess that's the Apple quote. Wow. Think differently.
Nice plug.
But they definitely wanted to reflect that in the way he saw things, and sometimes, as Kate Winslet's character points out, the way he sees things isn't necessarily how things really are. It's the way he sees them. But if he takes a step back, there's a point in the movie where he realized, like, wow, how was I so far off with that interpretation? So it's kind of cool, but it definitely showed his ups and downs, his flaws and his attributes all at the same time. Mm-hmm. I think they kind of went out of their way to make his the mother of his child seem like a very bad person. Mm. I don't know the woman personally, but they definitely went out of their way to make her look like an ill-fitted mother. Okay. But yeah, the tone was set up very well and executed very well all throughout the movie.
Okay. So we know him as this big tech giant figure. Did they attempt to humanize him, or was it all a little bit sensationalized?
There was a little bit mix of both. They sensationalized him.
Sensationalized.
Sensationalized.
Yeah,
Ooh, that was...
Sorry, my bad.
Yikes.
That's okay, keep going.
They sensationalized him, definitely, but they also humanized him. And they showed that really through his interactions with his daughter in the film. Mm-hmm. Again, Kate Winslet's character, who plays Joanna Hoffman, was also there to kind of reel him back in anytime he went a little bit too far. Mm-hmm. Her character really brought him back into, like, all right, listen, calm down. We need to do it this way. There's no other way. You want to do it that way? I quit. And they kind of made it so that the Joanna Hoffman character was almost like his foundation, his crutch. Anytime he needed someone to get something done, mm-hmm. Kate Winslet's character did. Gotcha. But yeah, his interaction with his daughter was really, showed his human side, okay. Which a lot of people kind of didn't really point out while he was alive in real life. Mm-hmm. He was a very methodical, demanding, and somewhat crazy of a leader of a company. But
here's to the crazy ones.
I think that's exactly where he got it from. He probably thought of himself when he read that slogan, or had the marketing team come up with it. That's like the marketing team of Apple probably actually thought of him when they wrote that one out. That was kind of sliding without him knowing. But they actually focused on that campaign also, because that was the big push for the, during his comeback release with the iMac. Mm-hmm. I think that's the campaign they focused on, to think different. Okay. And so they show like kind of like how he chose like which characters or which personas to showcase in that marketing campaign too. So it's kind of cool.
So overall tone you give?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Definitely.
And then the next category we got is going to be pace and editing. So as far as, again, was this movie made with iMovie or Final Cut Pro? Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so the editing, how did it support what they were trying to portray?
The pacing, again, it was very quick. Aaron Sorkin's films are always like that, where like in Social Network, there was barely any scenes of dialogue that wasn't quick banter, back and forth. Same thing with this film. Especially, with the interactions I enjoyed the most was the ones he had with Seth Rogen, or the Steve Wozniak character. Mm-hmm. It was almost like an underlying respect for each other, but still kind of asking each other to do a little more than they're comfortable with in a way. Gotcha. Okay. But no, the pace was very quick, even though it had to be almost in a way where they're trying to cover essentially almost 20 years worth of story into essentially a 2-hour movie. Mm. So I guess that was a big challenge. How do we make sure we don't miss anything, but still make it a fast-paced movie? So pacing-wise, did very well. It was very fast. Did a great job with the storytelling, though. Even though they condensed it so drastically, did a very good job with that. Editing, again, I saw no mistakes. So the editing-wise, it captured the emotions properly. There's a couple of scenes where it showed Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs from a kind of like an upward angle towards looking from the floor up, looking at his facial expressions like he's looking at a table.
Yeah.
And those are very strong. Just because Michael Fassbender, I think, is a great actor. Captured the moments of confusion or weakness.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay.
Very well. Yeah.
Okay. So overall score for pacing and editing would be
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yikes.
Okay. Cool. All right. So our final category is acting. Acting. So there have been a bunch of different kind of portrayals of Steve Jobs throughout the years.
Way too many.
But the most notable ones, I guess, were Noah Wyle in 1999 for Pirates of Silicon Valley, and then there was the Ashton Kutcher version of Steve Jobs in the movie that was just entitled Jobs. This actually didn't come out too long ago. Yeah. So the acting, I'm not going to say compare. How's the acting in this bioflick of Steve Jobs compared to the other stuff?
I mean, as a standalone itself, it's without even realizing or knowing that there was other Steve Jobs bioflicks made in the past. This one stands alone as being the best of the three, but also without knowing those other ones is actually very good. I mean, you have an all-star cast. You have Michael Fassbender, Kate Winslet, Seth Rogen, Jeff Daniels. It's when you have those 4 or 5 staples as the main people in your movie throughout the film. How can you go wrong?
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender did a great job. Steve Jobs, he even changed his tone of his voice to kind of match Steve Jobs. Now, there's a couple of times I caught myself trying to see if I could really hear Steve Jobs in him. There's a couple of times yes, a couple of times no. Just because I've seen so many of his keynotes throughout the years. Being a former Apple employee. Always watching the Apple keynotes because I want the next iPhone, and stuff like that. He did change the tone of his voice to make it a little more high pitched to match Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Kate Winslet's an amazing actress. She's been doing her thing for so long already. I have no complaints about her. Seth Rogen, I still kind of saw Seth Rogen, not him as Steve Wozniak.
It's tough not to see Seth Rogen.
It's tough,
as Seth Rogen.
but he dressed the part though. He
Okay.
wore what Steve Wozniak wore back then, what he wears now. Has a beard, has a glasses, has a goofy technology that Steve Wozniak swears to the future, but never ends up being the future.
Okay.
I mean, I love Wozniak, but sometimes the way he predicts the future for tech, I'm like, really? I don't know. But Seth Rogen did I would say, good job. I wouldn't say splendid or spectacular. He did a good job. And Jeff Daniels played John Scully, who the guy doesn't really speak much in public, so it's very. I wonder how he decided to go the way he went to, unless he actually spoke to him. But his portrayal of John Scully was, I think, the accurate way of portraying a father figure to Steve Jobs. The way he would, the film set it up as John Scully being the father figure to Steve Jobs, as mentoring him to be the CEO that Steve Jobs needed to be to make Apple where it needed to get to. Jeff Daniels played the father role very well.
Cool.
And then, when the poop hit the fan, he played he wasn't even the villain at that point. It's kind of like, all right, if you're going to try and screw me over, I need to cover myself, I need to protect myself. So I'm telling you right now, if you do this, you're going to lose. I'm telling you, so don't do it. Even at that point, he's still trying to cover Steve Jobs' ass while covering his own. So Jeff Daniels, I have no complaints about. Jeff Daniels has been doing so many good things throughout all these years, just like Kate Winslet has. So,
and we just saw him in The Martian too. So,
and he was good in that too.
Yeah.
And he was a douchebag in that role.
Yeah.
But yeah, acting 5 out of 5. So
5 out of 5. Cool.
Yeah, I think that is. I think it's a pretty high score I give this movie.
So before we give our final score on the Steve Jobs movie, what I don't, because everybody's going to want to know what at point in time, or what was the timeline that the bioflick started at, and what point did it end?
Sure. The movie started in the main focus of part 1 was in 1984, when it was right after the Super Bowl commercial aired, right before the initial launch of or the initial reveal of Macintosh. And it went all the way till 1998, which is Steve Jobs' epic comeback of being back the CEO of Apple, which is 1998. So it spanned about 14 years, but they kind of showed, they backtracked to the moments of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in the garage when they were first building the computer that they built way back when. Also his times introducing John Scully to his own legitimate father, his DNA father. So it does go back and forth, but the main ones are definitely 1984 through 1998.
All right, so the final breakdown for the bioflick for Steve Jobs is watchability. We'll give it a
5 out of 5.
And then for fun factor, we'll give it a
4 out of 5.
And then for tone, we'll give it a
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 5.
And then pace and editing, Will gave Steve Jobs
5 out of 5.
And then finally for acting, Will gave Steve Jobs
5 out of 5.
Which brings our overall score for the Steve Jobs bioflick and A. Thanks for watching this episode of SHORYUFLICKS. My name is Meshki. This is my boy,
Will.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, even if you hated us. But please like and subscribe anyway. Peace.
Adios.
SHORYUFLICKS.